Let's say that somebody gives you $10,000. If you can grow that money by just 1% per month over the next 40 years, then that money would grow into $1,186,477.25. But if you allowed that $10,000 to decrease by 1% per month over that same time period, then that would turn into just about $80. This is the 1% rule, and it's the reason that small changes right now can make a massive difference over the long run. Because whether you get 1% wealthier or 1% poorer each month depends on your small daily habits. So I want to share 7 small frugal habits which I'm using to save over 80% of my income every year. And the first habit I want to share won't just save you a ton of money, it will also make you a happier and a healthier person too.
So last I checked, the average American family spends about $15,000 a year on transportation. And I always knew that cars were expensive, but I thought that most of the cost of owning a car was actually buying the car in the first place, but that's actually not true. About 2/3 of the cost of owning a vehicle is actually in the gasoline, the maintenance, and the insurance of owning that vehicle, not the original cost. And that's why the first habit, if you want to save a lot of money, is to drive as little as possible. So I've been biking to work every day that I can, and when I need to go further, I'll use public transportation. And this is saving me a ton of money every single year. But not only does this save me a lot of money, it actually keeps me a lot healthier too. Because in an average day, I bike about 8 miles, and that's an investment in my health, and in the future, that may lower my bills too. But another benefit of this is it means I never get stuck in traffic. It means I'm never on the interstate, mad about a crash, or stressed out about getting to work. It's just such a more peaceful and pleasant existence when I can bike to work instead. So I highly recommend it, and it saves me a ton of money. Because again, even if you can't go completely car free, given that most of the costs are the gasoline, the maintenance, and the insurance, then you can save a ton of money just by driving less. You don't have to be completely car free like me.
And that ties into the second habit, which is to stop trying to fit in. When I was younger, I truly thought that the only option in life was to work until 67. I never even really thought about it just because everybody around me was doing that. I didn't know anybody else who was taking a different path. So this is why it's so easy to overspend, because overspending is what is normal. But being like the average person is not the goal, because the average person is saving a very small percentage of their income and is very insecure about their retirement. So if you do what the average person does, you'll get the same result, which isn't very good. So my life finally changed when I stopped trying to fit in and I started setting goals that made sense for me, not that everybody else wanted. Because the idea of working 45 years in a job that I didn't really care about seemed like an absolutely terrible option. I felt like there just had to be an alternative. And when I discovered the financial freedom movement, people who were living very frugally beneath their means so that they could give themselves more options in life, that just really resonated for me. Now, you may have a completely different goal, and you may want to work a traditional career until you're 67. That's totally fine. The point is that you need to figure out what actually is a good fit for you. And there's a good chance that other people won't understand that, because why should they? They're living their lives, you're living your life. You have to figure out what makes you excited. The little mental model that I use for this is I always want to think about what's the thing that would make me want to jump out of bed in the morning, excited to actually do that and excited to actually live my life that day. Most people do not feel that way. So if that's not how you feel, you really need to think about what path you're currently on and what changes you need to make to put yourself on a path where you are excited to jump out of bed in the morning. And no matter what that path is, having more financial freedom will make it easier to live whatever life you want, which is why I care so deeply about this. But the point that I'm trying to make is that my life completely changed when I stopped trying to fit in with everyone else and started setting goals that were right for me. And this ties into habit number 3, which is don't do it alone. Once you do find goals which are a good fit for you, it's really important that you find like-minded people to pursue those goals with. And this is really important for 3 reasons. Reason number 1 is maybe the most obvious, which is that these people can really help you on your journey. The example I usually use here is when I first learned about reaching financial freedom, I knew that I would need to invest to achieve my goals, but I really didn't know anything about investing. So finding people who could help educate me and help me on my path, which included my parents and included my professors, and included people on the internet who shared their knowledge with me. Those people really helped me on my journey by helping illuminate what I needed to do next, and they made sure that I didn't make a huge mistake. And second, surrounding yourself with like-minded people can inspire you. This, I think, is a lot more important than a lot of people realize, and I'll give you another personal example that might illustrate just how powerful this can be. So for example, I had set my goal of reaching financial freedom before turning 30, but I needed to figure out how to actually do that. And I still had some assumptions about how I would live my life. So it wasn't until I was reading a financial independence blog, I think it was Millennial Revolution, and these, I believe, were the first people who talked about living car-free to save money. Up until this point, I had literally never considered living without a car. But this little blog planted a seed. So when I graduated college, I didn't buy a car. I've been living over 3 years now, completely car-free. And that saved me tens of thousands of dollars. The point is that seeing other people do it can expand what you think is possible. And this sort of inspiration can make a massive difference, especially as you're first getting into the space and trying to learn how you want to change your life to reach your new goals. But maybe the most important part about surrounding yourself with like-minded people is that they make it normal. Peer pressure is only bad if your peers are a bad influence. But if you surround yourself with a lot of people who eat healthy, then you're more likely to at least think carefully about what you eat yourself. And if you hang out with a lot of people who always work out every single day, then you'll think that's a lot more normal to do. So if you're trying to save more money, if you're trying to stop overspending, then one of the most powerful things you can possibly do is surround yourself by people who don't overspend. Surround yourself with people who are good savers. Those people will make it way more normal to manage your money wisely. Because most people around you, if we're being honest, are probably not good influences with their money. Because most people do not take their finances seriously. You really do have to seek out these people in order to build a group that's a good influence for you. And all of these benefits of a community, having people who can help you and answer your questions, having people who can inspire you and show you how they've achieved what you're trying to achieve, and just having a group of people who make it normal to try to save more money and be smart with money. These are all the reasons that I created my free community called the Savers Circle. If you're trying to save more money or just enjoy the journey towards financial freedom, I would love for you to join because everybody can help everybody else actually get better together. I know that having a good community can be a huge level up for a lot of people when they're trying to change their habits. So I'm hoping that this community is very useful for you and for everybody else who is already in there. So there's a link in the description. There will be a QR code up somewhere. I would love for you to join.
But let's get a little more tactical. Another little habit that you can build, which will save you a ton of money, is by doing your own personal care. There are companies who want to convince you that you need like a million different beauty products, but you really don't. And probably for most of human history, we haven't even had most of those things. So I still do the basics. I brush my teeth, I floss, I use soap, I do all that kind of stuff, but you really don't need much more than that. And as a super tangible example, today I need to trim my beard. Now, I don't think I've been to a barber in probably at least 15 years because I've been trimming my own beard and hair since, well, what's left of it, since by high school. And even before then, my dad would give me a haircut on the back porch. And that is what I need to do right now. It's hard to estimate just how much this has saved me, but people spend $50 to $60 going to the barber and they go like every 2 weeks. So over time, that's literally thousands of dollars that this tiny little habit has saved me. And obviously, it's probably a little easier for me than it is some people. I know women often feel like they need makeup and all these other things. But at the end of the day, you really don't need to spend that much money here. So between this little razor, which I think was less than $25, and then this little mirror, which was less than $10, this is maybe one of the best investments I've ever made. I'm just gonna put this mirror right behind the camera, and here we go. And look, I'm not saying I'm a fashion model, but I am saying that I look pretty good, and my bank account definitely looks pretty good. So if you spend a bunch of money here, I bet there's a cheaper alternative. But luckily, there's an even easier way to save money. So let me get back to my room. I'll tell you about that one.
What I want you to think about is when you get back home from work every evening, what do you usually do? If you're like the average person, you probably have very expensive subscriptions, which you use for entertainment, whether that's cable to watch like sports and live events, or whether that's all these streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon so you can watch TV shows, whatever it is. I think last I looked it up, the average cost of cable was like $200 a month, which kind of breaks my brain. So these are very expensive options, but there are very, very cheap options instead. So when I get back from work, what I do is I watch free YouTube videos, or I will read free books, which I got with a free library card. This is why changing your entertainment is one of the best habits if you want to save more money. And this obviously makes me a lot richer because I spend literally nothing per month on entertainment, so that's hundreds more dollars that I'm saving. But what I think is actually kind of interesting about this is I think I'm actually more entertained because whenever I watch TV now, I am just It blows my mind how many ads there are. I cannot stand it. It drives me kind of insane. So I think that I'm more entertained by using options which are less ad heavy. And I don't pay for ad-free YouTube or anything like that, but I still find it just a lot less disruptive. So these really are my favorite entertainment options anyways, and they save me a ton of money. It just kind of seems like a win-win. And depending on what you choose, you can really use this time to still recharge, but still learn something that's valuable or become even more productive. So for example, a lot of what I spend my time on in the evenings outside of work is this YouTube channel. And this channel makes me very little, but that's still better than nothing. And most people are paying money to be entertained in their spare time, whereas I'm turning it into something that can make me money. So I much prefer that if I had to choose. And when I don't even want to work on YouTube, because filming these videos does take a little bit of work, I don't always have the energy for that. But then if I want to do something even more passive, well, then I watch podcasts or I watch other YouTube videos about how to make a better YouTube channel. So this is still very entertaining to me. It's very interesting to me, but it still helps me be productive in some way. And no matter what, it's still all free, so at least I'm not spending money. Now this next habit might be the one that saves you the most money. And one of the people I work with started saving an extra $800 per month just by doing this. Because the problem is that eating out is one of the easiest ways to overspend. And this was one that was actually kind of difficult for me because I really dislike cooking, but I really dislike wasting money. So let me tell you what's worked for me. I found that the easiest way to save money here is to do everything at once, which is why the next habit is to do meal prep. So here's what I like about doing food prep. One, it means I don't have to cook as often. For a while, I was literally only cooking once a week. These days, I usually do twice a week, but I do not have to cook as frequently as if I was trying to prepare a meal 3 times a day, every single day. That would drive me absolutely insane. Second, it saves me a bunch of money. I can buy things in bulk. It makes my grocery shopping extremely simple. It means I can buy more of one thing without it going bad because I'm cooking a big batch of something all at once. So this saves me a ton of money. Plus, I feel like a lot of the foods that you would buy if you want to food prep with them just happen to be cheaper foods as well. The third thing is that this means that I pretty much always have a meal that's already prepared. So if I open up my fridge, I will have a meal in here. Boom, we're ready to go. I don't have to prepare something. I don't need to come home from a long day of work and throw together dinner for myself. I already have something that is pre-made, so I never get tempted to order out, waste my money, getting DoorDash, whatever. The easiest way to avoid impulse purchases is to put yourself in a position where you aren't even tempted in the first place. So food prep saves me a bunch of money already because I'm preparing very cheap meals, and it means I'm never paying to go to a restaurant. So I've crunched the numbers on this, and the average meal I make, which is like a bunch of vegetables and chicken, I'm getting started right now, literally costs around $2 per meal. Whereas if I ate out all the time, it'd be very easy to spend $20 to $30 per meal. And even though I still don't really like cooking, I've made it a lot more enjoyable in a couple of ways. One is by using this Ninja Foodie right here. This thing is an absolute beast. I love this thing. I'm not sponsored. I wish I was. That thing saves me so much time because I can literally just chop up a bunch of stuff and throw it in there. And it just kind of makes everything for me. It's pretty amazing. And this allows me to make a lot of different recipes while it's still being very easy. I don't have to spend a ton of time cooking. And second, because cooking is so easy, it makes it very easy to multitask during this time when I'm cooking. So what I've been doing recently is this is usually the time I will call my parents. I'm actually about to do that. I'm about to call my mother as I do my weekly food prep. And this allows me to make the process a lot more enjoyable, a lot more chill. It's something I can kind of look forward to because it's a nice break I can use to call my parents, whereas I'm normally a very busy person. So I don't have to think about cooking. I got to think about doing something I want to do. Cooking just kind of happens in the background. I barely even have to think about it. So this lesson applies actually to a lot of things. If you're trying to build a habit, try to pair it with something that you actually enjoy. And if you're trying to get in the habit of spending less money, then as you try to do activities where you spend less, think about how you can make those enjoyable so that you enjoy becoming a frugal person and you enjoy your time rather than feeling like you're depriving yourself. Anyways, I've got some food prep to do. I've got to call my parents, so I'm going to throw it back to past me. We'll finish the video for you. But let me tell you about my favorite habit, because with this habit, you don't have to do any work. And the easiest habit to build is one where you don't have to do anything. It just happens in your sleep. And this is why I automate my savings so I don't even have to think about it. I set this up in my own personal investment account and it literally took me less than 1 minute. And you can do the exact same thing in a retirement account that's managed by your employer. And if you can't figure it out, then you also can go talk to HR and they'll help you. So what I love so much about this is I don't have to take any action to save money. I actually have to take an action to not save that money. When saving money is your default, it just happens way more naturally, and it's way more likely that that money actually gets saved and invested. Now, if you're just getting started and you don't really know how much money you can afford to save, then what I would do is I'd really pick a minimum number, a number that you're absolutely confident you'll be able to save, and just automate that. You can always save more later, but you don't want to run into any problems where you accidentally overdraw or you're not able to pay your bills at the end of the month. But as you get to know your finances a little bit better, you'll have a better idea of how much money you can automatically deposit. And really, you want to automate as much as you possibly can. You want as much of your savings to be out of your hands as you can make it. So implementing these small frugal habits myself has completely changed my life. So I hope you can adopt at least one of them, hopefully multiple of them in your life to help you save more money. And I'd love to know which of these habits you're trying to implement. And if you let me know in the comments, I do try to read all of them, so I'd love to see. But all of these habits actually all fall into a 4-step system that I designed to help people stop overspending. And these are actually the exact 4 steps that I walk through with my paid clients. So this is like the most valuable thing I can possibly give you. And I explained it all in this video right here. I think you'll find that video super valuable, especially if you're trying to spend less money. So if you liked this video and you've watched all the way to here, I'm pretty sure you'll love it.